sands, and laid her almost at her own door. Virgin white she was, and her arms were folded across her still bosom. Calm was her face, and the grey tides sighed about her slender limbs. Moll Farrell's eyes were stones, yet she stood above her dead girl and spoke no word, till John Coolwreck and his crony came reeling down from the tavern, their drinking-jacks still in their hands. Drunk was John Coolwreck, and the people gave back for him, murder in their souls. So he came and laughed at Moll Farrell across the body of her girl. "Zounds!" swore John Coolwreck. "The wench has drowned herself, Lylip." Lylip laughed with the twist of his thin mouth. He always hated Moll Farrell, for it was she that had given him the name of Lylip. Then John Coolwreck lifted his drinking-jack, swaying on his uncertain legs. "A health to the wench's ghost," he bellowed, while all stood aghast. Then Moll Farrell spoke, and the words broke from her in a scream which sent ripples of cold up and down the spines of the throng. "The curse of the foul fiend upon you, John Coolwreck!" she screamed. "The curse of God rest upon your vile soul throughout eternity! May you gaze on sights that shall sear the eyes of you and scorch the soul of you. May you die a bloody death, and writhe in hell's flames for 1,000,000 and 1,000,000 and yet 1,000,000 years. I curse you by the sea and by land, by earth and by air, by the demons of the swamplands, the fiends of the forests, and the goblins of the hills. And you," her lean finger stabbed at Lylip Canool, and he started backwards, his face paling. "You shall be the death of John Coolwreck, and he shall be the death of you. You shall bring John Coolwreck to the doors of hell, and John Coolwreck shall bring you to the gallows tree. I set the seal of death upon your brow, John Coolwreck. You shall live in terror and die in horror, far out upon the cold grey sea. But the sea that took the soul of innocence to her bosom shall not take you, but shall fling forth your vile carcass to the sands. I, John Coolwreck." And she spoke with such a terrible intensity that the drunken mockery on the man's face changed to one of swinish stupidity. "The sea roars for the victim it will not keep. There is snow upon the hills, John Coolwreck, and ere it melts, your corpse will lie at my feet, and I shall spit upon it and be content." Coolwreck and his cronies sailed at dawn for a long voyage, and Moll went back to her hut and her clam-gathering. She seemed to grow leaner and more grim than ever, and her eyes smouldered with a light not sane. The days glided by, and people whispered among themselves that Moll's days were numbered, for she faded to a ghost of a woman. But she went her way, refusing all aid. That was a short, cold summer, and the snow on the barren inland hills never melted, a thing very unusual, which caused much comment among the villagers. At dusk and at dawn, Moll would come up on the beach, gaze up at the snow which glittered on the hills, then out to sea with a fierce intensity in her gaze. Then the days grew shorter, the nights longer and darker, and the cold grey tides came sweeping along the bleak strands, bearing the rain and sleet of the sharp east breezes. And upon a bleak day, a trading vessel sailed into the bay and anchored, and all the idlers and wastrels flocked to the wharfs, for that was the ship upon which John Coolwreck and Lylip Canool had sailed. Down the gangplank came Lylip, more furtive than ever, but John Coolwreck was not there. To shouted queries, Canool shook his head. "Coolwreck deserted ship at a port of Sumatra," said he. "He had a row with the skipper, lads. Wanted me to desert too. But no, I had to see."